I am really excited to talk to you a little bit about some ideas I've had for Victober using just Dickens. It can be done. So I got looking at all of the different prompts and Dickens books came to mind for so many of them. And so I decided that I wanted to see if I could fit a Charles Dickens book into every prompt. And I've done it. I like every single one. You're probably not going to believe me, but it's true. So let's dive right in. Okay, so the first prompt I am going to talk about is Quickly Mine, which I've already discussed these books. So Dickens had two books that fall very easily into my prompt. The first one is Tale of Two Cities, which is about the French Revolution. And then the other one is Barnaby Rudge, which is about the Gordon riots of 1780. And both of those would be perfect for that prompt. The next prompt is Kate's Challenge for Friendship. This one I love so much because, there's so many great friendships in Dickens books. And honestly, I was thinking just about every single Dickens book has a beautiful friendship in it, so I don't think you could really go wrong. You could probably find something in any of them. The ones that came to my mind were my favorite Dickens book is Our Mutual Friend, and there are friendships between Bella and Lizzie, the Boffins and Bella and John Rokesmith, and also Eugene and Mortimer. I love their friendship. And then Lizzie, Hexam, and Jenny Wren. There's some really great ones in there. Another one is David Copperfield, and you have David and his friend Traddles from school. You also have David and Agnes and their beautiful friendship. So many others, Mr. Micawber and David. The list goes on and on. I think that's a very subtle but beautiful theme running throughout all of Dickens' works. Then we have the Pickwick Papers, where the entire Pickwick Club, they're all just a bunch of friends traveling around England and doing all kinds of crazy things. So that would easily fall into that category. Then we have Nicholas Nickleby, and I love Nicholas and Smike's friendship, as well as others within the book, but that one's especially touching. Then we have Little Dorrit, and there are several friendships in this one that are delightful. I love this book. Amy and Arthur Clenham, the two main characters, being one of the most beautiful, and also I love Amy's friendship with Flora, and there's so many others. But anyway, that's a great one. You could find a lot in there. Then you have the Old Curiosity Shop, where Little Nell and her friend Kit are part of that as well. So that one is very rich in Dickens. You can find pretty much connections everywhere. Okay, now Katie's Challenge is not a novel, right? So a play, story, poem, or nonfiction. So you could kind of stretch this a little bit and say that A Christmas Carol would work because it's not a novel, it's a novella. That would be an option. You also have his other Christmas books, The Chimes and The Cricket on the Hearth, which are both shorter. Child's History of England is an option, and it's nonfiction. And then you have short stories such as The Signalman and others like that. Then there's also one, which I think is a very fun one. There's a collaboration that he did with Wilkie Collins called No Thoroughfare, and it is available in two different options, either of which would work for this prompt. One of them is as sort of like a story format with a few chapters, and they took turns writing one chapter to another. And then also it was written as a play and performed with the two of them in it. So either one of those would work. Okay, now we have Marissa's Challenge, which was the change in class and social status. Quite a few of the books fall into this as well. You have Great Expectations is a very obvious one. You have Pip's classic rags to riches kind of a tale. And then you have Oliver Twist, where he goes from poverty to having good things happen to him and then bad things again, and back and forth. So he has quite a few changes through society. Then you have Nicholas Nickleby, who goes from hardship to security in the course of the story. And you have Our Mutual Friend, and I love this one, where you have several different characters like the Boffins who come into riches suddenly, or Bella who is taken in by the Boffins and her social status changes quite a bit. One of the main characters who goes up and down with his social status, and I don't want to give any spoilers there because it's such a great book, you should read it. Honestly, there are others, I just didn't go through every single one of them, but yeah, that's a great one. So we have the next challenge, which is Ross's for empire spotting. So signs of the British Empire are woven throughout pretty much all of Dickens' work, I would say, but more subtle. The ones that were a little bit more obvious, I think the most obvious might be Dombey and Son, which is a fabulous book, and kind of, you don't hear about it as often, but it is really good. And it has connections to trade and the shipping empire. Mr. Dombey that's his trade, is shipping. And then you also have Edwin Drood, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which was an unfinished work of Dickens, but it's still really well worth reading because it's a good start to what would have been a fascinating novel, and it's a shame he wasn't able to finish it. Much of it centers around opium and the opium trade, which again, connections to colonialism and the empire. Okay, the next challenge is Hannah's, and this is the challenge to find something about education. So a lot of these books have to do with education, like so many characters in them go to school, do different things. The main ones that I thought stood out more to me as being related to education were Nicholas Nickleby, where you have the main character teaching in a really brutal Yorkshire school. And then you have David Copperfield, who himself, he also attends a really difficult school as well. Then you have Dombey and Son, where there are some school chapters where young Paul Dombey goes to school, and then The Hard Times is actually centered around education quite a bit. It may even be the strongest contender, and I probably should have put it first because the whole central theme is about education and sort of cramming it down kids' throats versus, good education. And then we have Our Mutual Friend, where it's one of the main characters, there's a man who's in love with her and he's a teacher. And I just want you to read that book, so I'm not going to tell you anything else, but it's so good. And there's also the same main character. She is educated by a very kind Jew, Mr. Raya, so like private education. So you've got it on every level, whatever you want, it's there in Dickens. Okay, so Millennia's Challenge, which is the choose a color from a color wheel and read a book with that cover. I'm not going to pull out options, but like I looked through my shelves. I actually have a stack of books, but I figured it'd be too much pushing back and forth to show you all of them. But like I've got every color of the rainbow there pretty much. So you could find any Dickens book in any edition color that you'd like and you'd be just fine. All right, now Roy's Challenge is fun. These last three were the most difficult, but still great. Okay, Roy's Challenge is to find something with fantasy, right? A Christmas Carol would be a very obvious choice for this because you have 3 ghosts at Christmas time, and it is such a good book. So I love Our Mutual Friend, is my favorite novel, and Christmas Carol might be my very favorite Dickens book just because it is sheer perfection. So I know it's a little early in the season, but it would be a great choice. Then you have another short story called The Goblin Who Stole a Sexton, and this is part of the Pickwick Papers. It was actually written 7 years before A Christmas Carol, and it's a great little story that was kind of inserted in Pickwick Papers, but it can be read alone. Then you have The Chimes, The Cricket on the Hearth, The Haunted Man, which is a little bit more of a ghost story. Then we have The Signal Man, which is also supernatural. So those are all something to do with supernatural within them somewhere. They're all short. Christmas Carol's the longest, the rest of them are shorter. So if you need a quick option, that's a great way to go. Then we have Catherine's Challenge, the Jane Austen connection. You may have thought I couldn't figure this one out, but I did. Okay, so in a broader sense, we have, in many of the books, they explore courtship, manners, and social observations in ways that Jane Austen did herself a little bit, of course a little different. There are characters that have similar tones to a lot of the characters of Jane Austen, so if you want to go kind of more vague, then that would be a great way to do it. I think Bleak House and David Copperfield. If you want to go a little bit more specific, I was very proud of myself for this. Our Mutual Friend, again, is a great one because there is an undesirable proposal scene where someone named Lizzie receives a proposal that she did not look for. You're welcome. Then the last challenge, last but not least, Elizabeth, an underrated Victorian woman writer. You probably thought that I couldn't figure this one out because of course Dickens is not a woman, right? But the wonderful thing is that he actually had a lot of women write for him for his 2 magazines, All the Year Round and Household Words. He loved having contributors. I almost like to think that he loved creating the best thing out there, and so he found some of the best writers out there to contribute. Maybe so that they wouldn't become competition for him. I don't know. Like Elizabeth Gaskell was one of his best writers for him. And he probably just wanted to, keep your enemies close, right? So she did write with him on a lot of things. But of course, she's one of the most famous ones, so we can't use her. Don't worry. We have a couple of options. There is A House to Let. I'll show you my copy of this one. And this is a collaboration between Dickens and several other authors, including Wilkie Collins and Elizabeth Gaskell. But there is a poet in it. Her name is Adelaide Ann Proctor, and she contributes a poem as one of the chapters in this book. And then in a similar vein, we have The Haunted House. It is sort of a ghost story, be great for October. It's not that scary. Some of the chapters are a little more haunting than others, and some of them are just kind of cozy, sort of Victorian ghostly vibes, but not too bad. And that one, he actually had 3 female authors. So we had Elizabeth Gaskell, Adelaide Ann Proctor again, and then Hesba Stretton also wrote a chapter. So there you go. You can read just Dickens with some help from these wonderful women authors. I hope you can find something maybe Dickens related to incorporate into your Victober reading this year.